We made it to Perth. We're here at Rockingham Beach, and tonight is night one of the High Limit International at the Perth Motorplex. What did we get up to yesterday? We're going to tell you. I didn't go to a race on Boxing Night, but Matt did with his dad at Sydney International Speedway, and he actually didn't sleep until we got here to Perth, other than a little bit of a nap on the plane. I got up at 3 a.m. on the 27th, picked Matt up at 4 a.m. and we headed to the airport for an early 6:30 a.m. flight here to Perth. We were originally coming here to work with Rico, but unfortunately he's injured his wrist and he flew home actually on Boxing Day, but his crew is actually still here. Once we flew into Perth Airport, we were picked up by our friend Frank Scarterfield, who provided us with a van where we've got all our merchandise in it, and we actually headed straight from there to the racetrack to see what was happening. The first thing that we noticed when we drove in was actually that there was an event on. The drags were on. That means there's 5 days straight for racing at the Perth Motorplex. The staff there are pretty busy. Another nice touch that we noticed were the flags for the USA versus WA Speed Week. And remember, it's not just 3 nights of high limit racing for the High Limit International, but it's a whole speed week between the Bunbury Speedway and the Perth Motorplex. If you look closely, you'll notice that there's flags for every state in Australia, and of course the American flag is there as well. As we drove in towards the racetrack, we actually noticed there is another road, which is 7th Avenue. Perth Motorplex is pretty unique where it's actually paved throughout the pits with grass where the transporters park, and the roads in between are quite well set out, and have added a 7th Avenue this time to allow for more parking. We were expecting to see a bunch of sprint car rigs, but we didn't see any except for one, and that was South Aussie Matt Eagle and the 52 car. They were working in the sheds there at the track just outside of turns 3 and 4. We spoke to him and his team, and he mentioned that he was bummed to miss Tolma Speedway, which ran last night. That was an incredible event. I hope you guys watch it on Clay Per View. But like us, he had already committed to coming to Perth. He actually had a really great run. He was telling us on Boxing Night, he went from 22nd up to 7th place. He's been very, very consistent this season. We're expecting to see lots of high limit or flow racing signage around the place, but there really wasn't much at all, other than this sign here, which is the hybrid logo with the Motorplex celebrating 25 years, right next to the spectator entry, just in front of the toilets. In fact, there's actually not much of a high limit presence yet, or at least there wasn't yesterday when we got to the racetrack. We thought we were getting in late, but the high limit crew themselves got in about a half hour after us into Perth Airport. The series commentators and officials had massive delays traveling from the US, so only got in a day before their big 3-day event. Some other things that we noticed from the last time we'd been here to Perth is that there is a new big screen in the middle of turns 1 and 2, and it is big. That sits right next to the new demountable style corporate suites in turn 1. Just to the left of the big screen is the Raceway track office, and they do it right here in Perth, and there's even a promo car lettered up to promote the Maddington Toyota series, which looks pretty neat. We peeked our heads inside the track office and we saw the High Limit International trophies and even some medallions as well. If you've never been inside the office, just as you walk in, there is a scaled down model version to the right of the entire site, and that's pretty cool to see. Make sure you comment below if you've ever been here to the Perth Motorplex, because if you haven't, you really do need to come and check it out. On the inside of the track, you can see a new road there as well, and that is for where they stage the cars after they've finished their session and get pushed back to the pits on the outside of turns number 3. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's lots of flies around while I'm doing this video as well. It is quite nice here at the beach. It is only about 8:30 in the morning. It's quite beautiful. We're staying only about 10 minutes away from the Motorplex at Rockingham, and this is the beach that's just up the road from us. Again, if you haven't been to Perth, you need to come check it out. It's the most isolated capital city in the world. Connected from the inside to the outside of the track is where the cable cam is mounted. If you've watched some of the 7+ coverage, you'll see the cable cam, and that gives some pretty awesome views. As we got to the racetrack, we ran into track curator Mikey Rimmer, who we've had on a couple of our other videos, and he was actually chatting with Brad Shearer. Who is Brad? Well, Brad is one of the track curators at the Knoxville Raceway. Mikey actually goes over to Knoxville every now and then and spends some time with the track curation team over there, so it's cool to see guys from the middle of America come over for this event. This was Brad's first time outside of America. It was the first time that he saw the ocean and his first time on the plane. So very cool to see him here. We asked you guys on our social post, what do you want to see for our content throughout this week, and Nathan actually asked about Mikey's track prep, and it was something that I wanted to know, if he had to change how we prep the track for this upcoming high limit event, especially being 3 nights in a row.
No, same as what we normally do. We got really cool weather this time of the year, which is a bit odd, so it helps out a little bit. Don't put as much water on, but no, nothing really different to what we do for any other sprint car event.
What about for 3 nights in a row? Do you make sure to pack in plenty of moisture?
No, we got a pretty good process, so we know that the clay's going to hold the moisture that it needs to, so we just kind of repeat every day what we need to do and just adjust the water slightly depending on the weather. It's going to be like low 30s, so we don't need to put a lot on. Once the water's in there, it kind of stays there, and then we just top it up and just try and repeat the same thing every day. It's a pretty similar format, which helps out too.
These poles on the inside of the track now have lights similar to what we see on the poles at Knoxville, when depending on the racing state, they could be red, green, or yellow. They really do just continue to improve this place constantly. We were only here this time a year ago, and it's really cool to see that this place just continues to evolve. We spent a little bit of time at the racetrack, put the drone up and things like that, and then we headed off and we went and got a feed, and then we drove out to see the new Team Brady racing shop, which is just beautiful. Sprint car race shops are pretty simple, really. There's not much in them, but seeing a brand new team sitting there was quite special. We ran into team owner Sheldon Brady, and he was very hospitable and showed us around. Very cool, and it's great to see that not only a major new team, but Buzzy, the crew chief, in a good spot there, and also obviously James McFadden, one of the top drivers, if not the top Australian sprint car driver right now, in a good place, and looking forward to see what those guys do across the entire Australian country of racing. A lot of people have asked us about the 23X on their race car, and there's a funny story behind that. As we were talking with Sheldon, I made sure to ask about that, and he told us that their number is actually 23WX, but you don't have to have the W everywhere that the number is on the car. The rules here for Australian sprint car racing aren't quite the same as what we see in the United States, and you actually don't have to run a number at all on the outside sideboard of the car. Sheldon was telling us that he is a massive Michael Jordan fan, and just like Michael Jordan's 2311 NASCAR team, he really just wanted the 23X. So their number is actually 23WX, but that's why you see just the 23X on their race car. One thing we actually saw in one of the shops there, where Jock Goodyear's car is actually currently parked, is a massive Michael Jordan sign. So he wasn't lying that he is a massive Michael Jordan fan. And yes, there wasn't just one race team there. There was Jock Goodyear's T22 team parked next door, which was really cool to see that they have a home while here in WA. These guys are doing more traveling than any other sprint car team we worked out this Australian summer. It took them 3,500 kilometers to get to Perth from their Warrnambool shop, and also when they leave after the 4th at Bunbury Speedway, on January 4, they'll drive all the way to Hi-Tech Oils Toowoomba Speedway in Queensland, and that's over 4,200 kilometers on that drive alone. That's all before they then head south through Sydney, then down south to Victoria, South Australia, and then back to Perth in February before then coming back home. It's a huge effort. Hopefully you guys stay tuned to all of our content. For now though, we're gonna go grab a feed. We're gonna head back to the racetrack, set up our merchandise store, and we can't wait to see a packed house for this huge event. It's 100 grand to win on a Monday night. Who said they don't like Mondays, right? If you're not gonna make it out to the High Limit International like 10,000 other people will, you can grab our merchandise online over at sprintcarhub.com. I really hope you guys enjoyed this insight. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on our socials and make sure to click subscribe to the Sprint Car Hub YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you guys, so make sure you comment below. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next video. That sounded all right.